Hello and welcome to this next interview where I'm delighted to be joined by Tony Robinson, OBE, and Taryn Lee Johnston, who are the authors of The Happipreneur. So, hi, how are you doing, Tony and Taryn?
Yeah, just great. Thank you very much, Paul. Nice to see you at last.
Yeah, no. And Taryn, we've spoken once before, I think, on the phone, so it's good to find
you kindly did the interview for me. I am just going to say apologies if there is any whining or barking, but we have an 8-week-old puppy, so thank you.
What's the dog called?
We think he's going to be called Odin, but we're not convinced yet.
Right, okay, well, that's all right. We'll get the gods in, gods on our side as well. Okay, so, well, want to introduce yourself a little bit or say who you are for anyone that doesn't know? So, Tony, do you want to say a little bit briefly? I know you've got an
Yeah, sure. I'm known as the micro business champion and have been for a number of years. And I've been running multiple businesses for 34 years now. And a lot of my work goes into trying to make life better for micro business owners. And currently, I've just spent 6 months campaigning for 3 million people that have been excluded by the government from all income support during COVID. And so all my time has gone into that really for the last 6 months. And that's the kind of thing I do really. I try to do what I can to help micro business owners. But of course, I need to earn a living as well. And we've just written a brilliant new book, Taryn and I, called The Happipreneur, Why Microbiz Matters. And we've got great hopes for it. We tried to write the new Small is Beautiful. Over to you, Taryn.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've been in business not quite so long as Tony. I've started my first company 12 years ago. I've now got 3 small businesses. And I also lecture at Lincoln University, so I see kind of the both sides of new entrepreneurs coming on and also the struggles that business owners have. And for me, it's really important to just try and make sure that they don't fall for a lot of the pitfalls that are out there, and that they have genuine, real, decent advice as opposed to some of the nonsense that is peddled, shall we say. So for me, the project working with Tony was really key, that we were able to put things out there that people could actually just pick up and use and know that they're going to get the right advice.
Yeah. Well, talk a bit about the book now, because I knew that it was going to be a good book before I got it, because I'm a massive fan of Tony and everything that he does. But I'm just going to read out some of the stuff. So it's The Happipreneur, Why Micro Biz Matters, a memoir and guide for enterprising people. On the back cover, this made me chuckle. So I've never seen this word on the back of a book before. But masturbation is good, but masturbation is bad. Albert Ellis describes the 3 things that hold us back. I must do well, you must treat me well, and the word must be easy. The book is not only an insight into the life of a man who's dedicated his last 30 years to improving the way microbusiness owners are treated, but is also a no-nonsense guide to avoiding the pitfalls small business owners face. Tony has lived without a doubt an incredibly interesting and diverse life, from being the CEO of a huge corporation to almost single-handedly campaigning for the little guy. With insights from some of the UK's leading entrepreneurs and business experts, you will find information here that many gurus don't want you to know, and that some business advisors will never tell you. Okay. And then I love this quote as well from someone who's very familiar to the Newcastle Startup Week delegates, from Brad Burton. If you want someone to lie to you, go to some of these motivational speakers. Want someone to tell you the truth? Go to the dickhead in the red feathered hat. So wow, that's a pretty good back cover. So
Good, thank you.
So yeah, so how did the book come about? Like, why did you want to do this book?
Yeah, I'll kick off really, because it was a headache I gave to Taryn. You can explain how we met each other, but we had a meal well over 2 years ago, because this has been a 2-year project really. And I never really wanted a biography written about me, or an autobiography, but I'd pitched to Heinemann and Wiley a few years before a book called Walking with the Entrepreneurs, which I wanted to be the new Small is Beautiful, really, because it's just happenstance, really, as many things are in life. And I've been very lucky to meet many of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world through my 34 years in business, and also being chief executive of Amway UK before Claire and I started our business. So a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs, and a lot of the fakes entrepreneurs that are very successful as well, I have met. And I thought that we could use kind of my story as a way of actually saying what I've learned from them, including people that you've mentioned, like Albert Ellis, the greatest psychologist of all time, Brad Burton, UK's #1 motivational speaker. So I wanted to try and update Schumacher's Economics as if People Mattered, Small is Beautiful, into an enterprise as if people cared, actually sharing everything that I've learned that will help you start up, survive and thrive in your own business, but, and this is the important point, happily. Yeah. In other words, you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy your life as a result of controlling your own destiny. And it took us a long time. I'll explain, Taryn can explain. It took us a long time to find the format, but I think we finally did it. So it's a 2-year project to create the new Small is Beautiful. Taryn, do you want to kick on from there?
Yeah, so the meeting with Tony was like, I really want the biography done, but I don't really want to tell my story, and I really want it to be a business book, but I don't actually want to write another business book, and I want to make it the next Small is Beautiful, but actually I'm not quite sure if that's how I want to do it. And I sort of sat there like, okay. It was going to be an expose, it was going to be a tell-all, it was, you know, and I sat and I thought, I genuinely don't know how I'm going to do this. I do not know how I can pull all of this together. And the reason it took so long in the end was because we reinvented it, I think, 4 times before we came up with the final format. We'd start it, and then one or other as a go, that's not working. We're not able to include what we want. And then we talked about what would happen once the book was written, and we said, look, we'll do a series of road shows, and we'll do a Q&A session. And I thought, aha, why don't we put the Q&A at the end of each chapter, which is then how it works. So then I said, rather than doing a formal biography, let's make it a memoir, so it can be more relaxed, and we don't have to go quite into so much depth, which is what Tony didn't want. He wanted it to be quite as heavy going. And it also then led me able to interview everybody else, like yourself, and just pull it in. So it was just a moment of, it was a light bulb moment. It went off, and I was like, oh, we can do it. And so that's how it came about. Once we decided on the format, it then just flowed. I think less than 6 months, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the fantastic thing is that we're both writers. Taryn's a brilliant writer, and once it started going, it's amazing how quickly we actually put it together. So yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you've succeeded in doing what you wanted to do, because I really like that it's like you say, the word relaxed. It is a relaxed memoir. It's not such a serious sort of biography, sorry, but the Q&A is really nice that you've got that in there as well. It sort of lightens it as you go along, but it is a real celebration of Tony, his life, but also the way he thinks and his approach to doing business, and the people around him as well that he's come across and come in and out of his life. And definitely me reading it, I'm like nodding throughout, and kind of I'm in agreement with a lot of what everything he's saying. So no, I think you've done a really good job at getting that all out of his head and into some sort of structure. Because I can imagine you having a room with like all these like things stuck all over on a notice board and like moving them around and trying to capture that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was like there was a lot of emails, and that there were occasions Tony would message me and go, "I think you've missed an email." I'm like, "Really?" I'd have to go back and go through them all. And go, "Oh, crikey, yeah, there's a massive chunk there." And it was, I mean, it was a lot of fun actually. I don't think I've said this to Tony, but for me, it was fun.
I thought it was a nightmare for you, but that's nice to hear.
No, because it was. Getting you to open up wasn't as easy as some might think. So, you know, you were quite reluctant to come out. So sort of dragging the story, kicking and screaming out of you, was actually a lot of fun. And once you sort of relaxed into it, and once you knew what we were doing, the stories came more and more. And then I was able to kind of fill in a lot of the gaps, because there was, you know, there's a lot of common knowledge about you and the things you've done, but actually what underpinned that was great. And to get some of the stories out, you know, this image I've got of you at Polly with you know, in a crowded room full of smoke, a little bit like Citizen Smith, sort of, you know, going off on a rampage. That's kind of an image that stays with me from writing it.
Lovely. And I think the other thing you should remember, Paul, is that if you hadn't started off Microbiz Matters days, then that would have been about at least 20 entrepreneurs that have been mentioned in the book, not mentioned. So you're part of the inspiration of this. You've given us a lot of the content. So thank you very much for that, Paul.
Thank you. Well, that's very kind of you to say that. I think it's like, well, you've been a massive inspiration and support to me over the years, and then so it's nice that I've been part of that in some way as well. So yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Everyone support and inspire each other whenever they can.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing, it's a bit like the work you're doing and have always done since you've had your own business. I think it's all about building communities, and Taryn and I hope in a small way that this book will last like Schumacher's has. You know, the whole point about Small is Beautiful is that Schumacher was saying, look, and he used the words, if you don't do something about it, and he wrote it in 73, the rich are going to get richer and the poor are going to get poorer. Mm-hmm. And it's as simple as that. If you don't back micro businesses and small businesses, which is a just way of earning a living, instead of the big corporations that are with government, a fairly corrupt way of earning a living, which don't respect individuals as individuals trying to live happy lives and are just interested in productivity and things like that, then the world will, and he was worried about, that will use up its natural resources and eventually implode. That was his message, and we've hoped to create in our own way, an updated version of that, about how important it is as all backing each other. You know, you know, micro business owners have got to realise that their competition is actually not the micro business owner sat next to them. It's actually the largest corporations run by unseen billionaire investors. And governments being controlled by those banks and billionaire investors. That is their competition, and we've got to work together to create the world that we want. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And that was written nearly 40 years ago.
1973 it was written. Yeah. I mean, I didn't read it in 1973. I was on a postgraduate diploma in HR management, and it was one of the books in the economics thing. That was about 1978. And I didn't go back to it again for another 30 years, but I just I couldn't believe it. I spoke at the Small is Beautiful conference, and so I reread it again, and I just couldn't believe how everything he said would happen has actually happened, you know, and that's why it's subtitled Economics as if People Mattered. Yeah, Economics as if People Mattered. So, very important book.
I haven't read it.
Yeah.
Do I need to read it, or
No, just stick with ours now. Just tell everybody that fortunately it's been updated, and you'll know all the people that, And the other thing is that he believed in which Ernesto Ciroli believes in as well. He believed in a particular kind of enterprise facilitation as well. Although he's an economist, the other key person running through the book is Ciroli, because he built on Schumacher's Small is Beautiful to create this concept of enterprise facilitation and how you help business owners to develop their businesses. So it's a very important book, but it's all in ours now.
So this should be on everybody's on the wish list. Everybody should buy a copy. Enterprise agencies should buy a load to give out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Schools, colleges, universities.
Because it's really not about me. I think Taryn will agree. It is not about me. It is about what I have learned from the Sir Jim Ratcliffes, the Brad Burtons, the Alan Sugars, all of these people, the Kenya Kings, the Charlie Mullins who you've met. You know, it's what I've learned from you as well. It's putting it all together into something that is practically useful day to day. But it's also about like your you've got a member of your network that's called the Savvy Stoic that I met at one of your startup weeks, if you like. And it's also about finding values in life that are important to you to leave you fulfilled. So you're actually, it's about being enterprising. You can have a job and still be enterprising. It's about being enterprising, but it's also about, having some values that you can actually achieve through your enterprising life that make you fulfilled and happy. A happypreneur is somebody that puts friends and family first, whereas all the fake gurus will tell you to leave all the negative friends and families that you've got and you discard them, go into a world of you're the average of the 5 most successful people that you're with. Do you know what I mean? So it's a different way of life. It's integrating enterprise into a happy and fulfilled lifestyle.
Yeah, I think what I wanted to show was that one, it's possible to go from being a CEO to a happypreneur, and that journey of Tony's of actually being up here and coming down. The book was originally called Riches to Rags, which was what we were going to go with, because he the key point in his life at the point of having I suppose the most material wealth, Tony went, this isn't for me. And I wanted to show how it's possible to completely fly in the face of all of this fake advice that you've got to be around all the rich people, you've got to ignore any friends that don't have the same mindset as you in terms of success, and that wealth is the only thing that matters in order to get your dream and to be happy. I wanted to show that route isn't necessarily, that might be right for some people, that might absolutely be right. If that's what they want to do, great, okay, go for it. But what we're showing is that in order to be happy, it's about doing something you love. It's about being around the people that genuinely care and support you. And they might not be the next big .com hero. They might just be somebody who is happy going to work on their 9 to 5, having a week in Menorca, and having their 2 kids and the dog. And if that's what they want, but they still support you, then why would you want to discard them? And I think that's really, so that's what Tony's story to me shows, is that you can go from the high flying, and then you can invest in your own company, and you can work all the hours that we all work. And we know as small business owners, that's what we do. When it's just us, we work 60, 70 hours, however many it is to succeed. and we can still be really, really happy. And that, I think that's the key for me.
Yeah, I think that's a trick. Like, who doesn't want to be happy? You know, and like, sure, I would imagine. I think most people would rather be happy than just rich. Like, if you can be rich in other ways. It's not just material riches, is it? So yeah, and the fact that you have had a very successful career as a CEO of a major company, which we'll talk about a little bit, and then you've decided to give that up and do things your way, the way, like, business the way you thought should be done, is a real testament to your character. And yeah, so
The lucky thing there, though, Paul, is of course that I've never been alone in business either.
yeah,
So I've only ever done, so it was Claire and I that founded the Business Advisory Bureau that's lasted 30 odd years. It was Taryn and I that pulled off this kind of project. It was Tina and I that created the Microbiz Matters movement. You know, so, you know, Svedi was probably the only one that I'm credited with as founding on my own. And the Institute of Enterprise and Entrepreneurs came later when I had partners. But in actual fact, that was Claire and I founded Svedi as well. So as the book will say, that any success I've had in my own businesses, because you know, I've had sometimes when I have been successful, sometimes not, never earned as much money as when I was chief executive of Amway UK or had the lifestyle. And I've had to downsize twice. But the successes I've had in the businesses that I've built and various things have actually come from being in partnership with other people. So, you know, it's very important, I think, that this kind of view of the maverick. So, you know, that's the whole Ciroli thing, isn't it? You know, is that you need to do 3 things in business. You need to be able to market really well. You need to be able to make or create the products and services really beautifully, really well. And you need to manage the money absolutely beautifully well. You need to be brilliant at all 3 of those things, but those are the only 3 things. But we have never found any entrepreneur that is brilliant at all those 3 things. No. So even running your own business, I don't like the idea of the solopreneur. I think you've always got to find some people that can add something in, you know.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I suppose, so my business is me, right?
Yeah.
But I do bring in other people as freelancers, part-time freelancers. Like, there's no way I could deliver like the Newcastle Starter Week events on my own, and other projects that I've done. But at the same time, I don't want the overheads of having permanent members of staff. So there's a bit in your book where you talk about that. Like, if you can get away, or not get away with it, but if you can bring in freelancers as and when you need,
absolutely,
in partnership, then that's maybe a smarter way of doing business.
Well, you know, the one thing that all the entrepreneur books talk about, which Taryn and I talk about a lot, is the fact that they never talk about being ruthless with the cost cutting. And that includes your personal costs. You know, there's a lot of subscriptions that you might have that when you go into business on your own, you better get rid of them. You know, get rid of anything that clutters up and it's like handcuffs around you. And that's why, you know, I'm so opposed to debt in the early days of business. When you've got customers, fine, borrow, sure. I'm not saying you shouldn't borrow. I'm not saying you shouldn't have investors. But I am saying that, you know, there's two parts to business, and one is reducing those costs down. And employees are a massive cost, whereas freelancers are, you know, basically you can get some people, brilliant expertise, and you're using them on a project basis, aren't you? Like your startup week, and you know, it's great.
I do exactly the same. So, you know, I mean, I look at the investments not only in financial but in time in employed staff. You know, you suddenly become everybody's agony aunt, and you've got to deal with that on top of running a business. And I think if you're just starting out, the last thing you need is that. So I'm the same as you, Paul. All of my team are all freelance. I've got editors, formatters, proofreaders, designers. marketers. I work with them, and they're great. And I think they bring a different kind of energy. You know, having been a freelancer myself, I know that if somebody offers me a job, that's great. That's food on the table. That's a bill paid. So I'm going to do it to the very best of my ability, and I'm going to do it quick because I want to get it paid. So for me, using people the same way makes even more sense, because then I know I'm going to get the job done well, and I'm going to get it done quickly, because they want to be paid. And as long as I'm decent and above board, and I pay them within, you know, their 7 or 14 days of their contract, then, you know, I think it's a brilliant way to work.
Yeah, I think all the, well, maybe it's just the world that I'm in or we're in, but all the best, most interesting people that I know don't want a job. They're all self-employed. They all want to be freelance. They want that freedom and flexibility to work on projects and come and go as they please, and kind of, yeah, they don't want to be tied down to that. So if you want those people, then you have to be open to that way of working. And so far, it's worked well. But having said that, you know, 4 and a bit years into running my own business, I was saying before to Tony, I've just started a new business where I've got 2 co-founders, and I'm really enjoying being part of a team with 2 other people. Like the energy that I get from those 2, and we all support each other, and we're all really into it, and that's a new thing for me, which I'm really enjoying at the minute, instead of just for a short period of time where you've got that.
It's funny because I'm in the middle of, well, I'm actually 98% finished another book, and one of the chapters of that is called "It's Lonely at the Top." And you know, it's about how, as a business owner, you don't have anybody else. If you are solo, there's nobody else you can tell if there's a problem. You don't tend to want to share it with your partner because you don't want to burden them, and you certainly don't want to tell anybody in your networking group because you want to be seen to be successful. So who do you tell when there's a problem? So it's an interesting problem that micro business owners have, and like you just said, suddenly having a founder that you understand, that you can bounce ideas off is great.
Yeah, well, one of my co-founders started as like a mentor, so I've been working with him as a mentor for 12 months. So I was part of a program where it was meant to be helping existing businesses grow and take to the next level, whatever level that is. But so he got to know me and the business, and I got to trust him and like understand that he had my best interests at heart, and we just hit it off. So it's gone beyond just being a project, a program that I was part of. He's really bought into me and Starter Week and Tribes and the new business. So then it was like, well, if you want to do this, let's do it. Like, let's do it together, and let's bring in this other guy that we both know and like as well. And it's going really, really well so far.
I mean, that touches on something else that Tony and I have talked about, which is the importance of having a mentor, and having a mentor that understands your business and understands what you do and can sing from the same hymn sheet. There's no point in having a mentor of somebody who's never actually been in business. You just said that it's perfect having somebody who understands, and now you're moving things on from there.
Yeah, and the energy thing is really important, what you're saying there, because like, well, especially around the events that I do, I don't know, it might be the same with books as well. But when you're pushing towards a deadline and everything's going towards that, and then when you hit that deadline and the book's out or the event's over, you kind of trying to pick yourself up again and like get going again for the next project can be quite difficult. To find that motivation on your own is difficult, but if you've got other people working alongside you, it's a bit easier. And definitely the first day I did the Starter Week event, I had what's known as event crash, where you're just like this, you're building towards this thing and it's so exciting, and then the next day it's literally, there's nothing. There's like nothing to do. It's quiet. There's no buzzing around. You're like, oh, well, that was amazing, but now what do I do? So so the second year I was more prepared for that, because it wasn't such a massive euphoric high and a bit of a crash. And then and last year it was, again, I was more prepared for it, but you know, just that's the thing with seasonal stuff. So
you've done really well to handle it, Paul, because you know I'm 68 now, and mine's actually got worse. So, you know, I can't sleep before I do a speaking engagement. And then when I finish the speaking engagement, I'm at my lowest point ever.
Right.
Does that make sense? And you know, it's exactly what you've described. And it's incredible. I've tried to control it in many ways. You know, I use Albert Ellis's and I use all my Stoic value. I'm not unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm lucky because I haven't suffered, you know, a situation where I can't get over it. But I'm at my lowest point after I've, you know, you go back to the hotel, usually on your own. You know, everybody's great with you while you're about to speak. And then when you've actually been on stage and done your stuff kind of thing, you know, well, you've done it, haven't you? Kind of thing. You've then got to struggle to get paid and all the things like that. You get forgotten immediately as soon as you've done your turn. And, you know, I can understand why, you know, professional entertainers, so many of them drink heavily. Because, you know, you know, I can really understand it, if you like, because I certainly always treat myself to a meal and a few glasses of wine after. I don't go that crazy anymore. But I do understand this thing. And the good thing about being surrounded by people that you love and you trust and give you energy is that you've got somebody to share those moments with. And that's why Claire always used to, when we were really active together, Claire always used to sit in the front row of the very biggest speeches, and I've done the same for her. So there's a smiling face there during it, yeah, and there's a smiling face to enjoy yourself with after it. And that's one of the ways we actually handle it.
I had a weird thing after the book came out. So I mean, so in the last 8 years, I think I'm up to almost 40 books published.
Wow.
But it's the first one that's actually got my name on the front. I mean, obviously I've ghostwritten quite a few, but this is the first one that's actually got my name on. And I felt physically sick, absolutely physically sick the day it went out. Even though I knew it was done to the best it possibly could be, and I was really happy with it, I still felt sick. And then the day after, I had a come down, and as the publisher, I don't get that. As the publisher, I'm the one that's saying to the authors, you know, come on, you'll be great, it's going to be fantastic, you've got to keep going, keep pushing, you know, we're only at the beginning now, let's keep going, let's keep the momentum going. And I crashed, and I thought, wow, now I fully understand what all of my authors go through. So actually, it's made me a lot more empathic towards all my authors.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I suppose, well, what did you say? It took 6 months to write it, but so I mean, that's a lot of people live their whole life wanting to write a book and they never get to do it. So you've done that. You've gone through the hard work of pulling it together, writing it, publishing it. But that's just the beginning in a way, because now it's going to take on a new life, isn't it? Because it's out there. People can buy it, they can read it, they can do what they want with it. So yeah, it's like getting the new energy to take you on to that next journey. So I mean, hopefully things like this, doing videos and interviews, give you a little bit of a boost and to keep you going and kind of get a new audience to know about it and get those sales up.
Yeah. And I think you know, a writer's life is because I suppose, you know, for the last 10 years certainly I've been more of a, well, over the years we were counting up that, you know, it's well over 70 books that I've written either for clients or scripts and various things, including BBC video script, all sorts of things. So I've been a writer for a long time, but it's only in the last 10 years since I had my sabbatical in Malta that I, you know, have concentrated fully on writing. And one of the reasons writers do it is that second thing in being a happypreneur, which is, you know, something you've touched on really, is the fact that it's a great way of controlling your own destiny. But it is a profession like anything else. You've got, you know, J.K. Rowling will say you've got to read and read and read and read and read in order to be able to write and write and write and write, you know, and that's the thing, is that being a happypreneur is definitely about doing what you love and doing what you're good at and always getting better at it.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? That's the fulfillment. You know, it's like the total opposite to Bitcoin or something. Yeah, that's not yours. Yeah, you're doing it for the money. It's for, you're loving the wealth maybe and various things, but writing every hour, every day, you're actually doing something that is hard work, but it's something that controls your own destiny, and you get better and better at doing it. It's very fulfilling.
Until the point where you get absolutely rubbish at doing it because you've done it too many times and you stop, of course.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Well, that's what happens to fiction writers.
Yeah.
Particularly, you know, I've just gone back to writing some satire because I realised that, you know, I wasn't getting any better at writing thriller kind of fiction. Just wasn't getting any better at it. I wasn't enjoying it. So,
I think sometimes you do have to start. It's like any business that you're in, no matter what you do, there comes a point where you have to kind of stop and reevaluate what you're doing and whether or not it's what you want to do anymore or whether you're doing it well. Mm-hmm. And if you have that period where you just kind of go, no, I need to walk away from this for a bit, you tend to find that when you come back, you're far better than you were before. So I think, you know, you going back to satire, you'll probably find that once you finish that one, the thrillers will come easier again because you're back with a fresh mind and a fresh perspective.
I hope so. You've got to love what you're doing, and you can get to the point where you just don't love it anymore.
In fact, you've already done it. You know, you've done business books, you've done satires, you've done thrillers, you've done poetry. You know, you know you can do it, so you can go back to it when you feel it inside that you're ready to do. But your freedom from bosses forever. I love that. That is so cool. It hurts. Is she coming back? Or
yeah. Well. In my latest satire about seagulls, she does actually make a cameo appearance. So that's good news for the world. I mean, Taryn is a mad keen fan on the chocker wine diet, and as you probably saw at the back of the poetry book I wrote, then we actually managed to get some tips for all chocker wine fans in there. So that's proved very popular. In fact, most people haven't read the poems, have just read about the chocker wine diet. So I owe a lot to Leonora Sekulit-Hertz, or Sekulit-Hertz. Now she has a celebrity name like Stormzy and various things. But you know, it's absolutely amazing. I really do. Yeah, she still doesn't speak to me though.
Talking about Stormzy, who's a well-known grime artist. This is still one of my favourite ever photos. The one of you and Sway.
Oh yeah,
Micro-biz.
I'll tell you what. We'll reenact it. We'll reenact it now for everybody. We can reenact it right now. So this is Dirty Good Habit. These are not hers or rabbits. They're habits. And this is Bertie, Bad Habit. Now the scene. Oh, hang on. I was wearing glasses, wasn't I, in that photo? So okay, so there we go. So hang on. So we got Bertie, Bad Habit, and we've got Dirty Good Habit, and basically what was happening. Yeah, you were recording, and Sway walked into the room, and I was like this, wasn't I?
Yeah, so Sway, this Mobo award-winning grime artist, was outside with his crew, and I'm like saying, oh yeah, okay, Tony's in there explaining what was going to happen, how it was all going to work for Micro Biz Matters Day, because we were live streaming throughout the day. And I walked in, I just remember the look on Sway's face, because he just sees this guy looking like that, and he was just like hesitating. What should I do? Should I sit? Anyway, he just sat down alongside Tony, and Tony just started interviewing him with the habits. It was brilliant, because once Sway was just such a lovely, cool guy, but he just went with it, and it was just a brilliant interview. So.
And he enjoyed it, didn't he?
He loved it. But yeah. So my micro biz matters day. Do you? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. But did you know much about that, Taryn? Had you...
No. So obviously once so Tony and I sort of initially crossed paths about 8 years ago, and then we sort of stayed in contact over social media. So I was aware of the Micro Biz Matters Day, probably would have been maybe 3-4 years ago. I think I started to kind of get involved with it and making sure I was sort of during the day. But it was only the year before last that I actually went. And saw just how big a deal it was. It was the whole one that I actually managed to get. I'm looking forward to this year's even more.
Yeah, so you've done six so far, haven't you? So
That's right. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean,
And you've done 5 of them.
I was going to say, I'm not just saying it, but like they are some of my favorite days. Like some of my favorite memories in business and self-employment and the whole micro biz sort of scene. Just amazing, fun, creative, exciting days. So I'm really happy that we've done those over the years. So I missed this one, unfortunately. So I'll be there for the next one.
Sunny Scarborough, Scarbados is hosting the next one, and it'll be absolutely amazing because where we've hired is just 50 yards away from the beach.
Okay.
So we'll do lots of things on the beach as well. So it's going to be just fantastic. And we've got a van this time. So if you're here, you can come in the van, socially distanced, of course. And we're going to go around and interview lots of businesses in Scarborough in our van as well. So it's going to be amazing. And but you created it. It was, without one of the things that we did, which is still, I think, the bit of genius that you provided to it, is that I wanted to make it an online social media day, but didn't know how to do it. And you, by coming up with the idea of Google Hangouts, actually came up with the idea that we wouldn't have any talking heads, we wouldn't have any speeches. Yeah, we would just ask questions and share experiences together. And I think that was the most fantastic thing, and I'd like to preserve that going forward, if you like, where it's not a conference, if you like, it's a massive social media day, and we're connecting up with people wherever they are, and we're sharing it so people can actually watch it in a cafe or whatever it is. I think it was great, and it was you choosing Google Hangouts and saying how it could work that made it fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know how we came up with it. Well, we came up with it together. I'll not take all the... I think, I was thinking about this before. We are pioneers. We're ahead of the time, ahead of the curve, because now, obviously, with Zoom and Teams, and people are much more comfortable doing this now, but we were doing it before anyone else.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I'm not aware of anybody anywhere that's done a full day, like 8-hour live stream through the way that we've done it every year for 6 years. So I think it'll actually be even easier, and more people will get involved in it next time, because they're more comfortable doing this. And with something like Zoom, it's a lot easier to just get people to join, because you just send them the link and they can just join.
So this time we can have a huge group, can't we, at different points on the different hours? Fantastic. Yeah, it'll be great. But haven't we made some fantastic friends as well through it? I mean, that's the other thing is because they're not there to present, they're just talking. They've actually just loved answering questions and things and getting into a real conversation, haven't they? Rather than and it's all about business as well, isn't it? It's like. So, I mean, like Charlie Mullins, what was your impression of Charlie? He's supported every day. As our Microbiz Matters star, what did you think of Charlie Mullins when you first saw him?
Amazing. Well, I knew a little bit about him, but I'd never met him. But I remember, I think, was it the first year or the second year? I think it was the first year.
First year, he came into the Google,
So we were at Google's office in London. So they provided the space for us to do it. and I went outside to meet Charlie on the street. And I just remember this chauffeur-driven Bentley just pulling up and just stopping in the middle of the street, right? Stopping all the traffic behind him, and he's got his face on the side of this Bentley, right? And then he gets out, and everyone's beeping the horn, and he's turning around, going, "You what? You what? You." He's like threatening all these people, like threatening to beat them up. And then he just turns to me and goes, "All right, Paul, all right." Like proper geezer. And then we came in the lift. He's like preening himself, you know, getting his hair done, straightening his tie, whatever. And then we came into the Google office where they had the most amazing canteen. Just help yourself, whatever you want, you can have it. Like the nicest food, whatever. So, "Oh, what do you want, Charlie? You can have this. You can have this." Yeah. So, "Oh, I'll just have that." He just got 2 slices of white bread. He stuck a load of meat in it and just started chomping on this. So, but then, what a guy. But then when he came in for the interview, he was just gold, pure gold.
He's absolutely amazing, isn't he? Absolutely amazing. And he's loved it, hasn't he? He loved every single one of them. And, you know.
At his place, Pimlico Plumbers, that was really amazing the way he did that.
Yeah. Because
they've got a gym there and they cleared it out and turned it into like an auditorium. So that was really clever the way that we did that. So you were live streaming from his office.
Yeah, we were able to have his office to do all the live streaming films.
But then we also had an auditorium that people could sit and watch on a screen. They could see.
And you found a busker, didn't you? You found a busker.
Yeah.
Who was absolutely amazing. Stole the show. You saw him the night before, didn't you? And where was it?
So it's stuff like that I just love. Like I was just walking through the streets in London. I just heard this busker, and I was like, "Oh, he's good." And then I was like, "Bloody hell, he's really good." So I don't normally do this. I like turned around, turned on my heels, went back and watched this guy, and I was just like, "You are incredible." A guy called Murdo Mitchell. He was a Scottish guy who was busking down in London. So I watched a few songs and just the way and amazing set. And I just went up to him and was like, "Right, this sounds really weird, but I'm doing this event tomorrow." And I explained what it was. I was like, "If you're free tomorrow, do you want to come along and do a set?" And he was probably thinking he was this weird guy, but he agreed to come along, and that was such a good way to end the event, wasn't it? It just got everyone really buzzing at the end of the day. Yeah.
And I was after he finished, Carl, who was Charlie's PR, said to him, he said, "Have you got this guy covered?" And I said, "No, I haven't got." So, and they actually gave him a load of notes.
Yeah, I think Charlie's stuffed a big wedge of notes in his pockets.
That was absolutely great. But he had a lovely time, didn't he? He really enjoyed it.
Yes, check him out. Murdo Mitchell is an amazing singer-songwriter. So and he's got a band called Delphi. So yeah, no, it's things like that. Magical. That I would say there's lots of just magical moments there on Michael Bismarck's Day.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see you on January the 8th, Friday, January the 8th. Mm-hmm. So that's the 7th Michael Bismarck's Day.
Yeah. So just, we'll definitely be there. And back to the book, what's happening with this now then? So it's out, people can buy it. What's the best way to get a hold of copies? Is it direct through you, Taryn? Or?
No, I mean, you can get it through any Waterstones, any WH Smiths. It's available on Amazon. Or if you wanted a copy direct from myself or Tony, you can do that. We still have some signed limited edition copies available as well, but they're going very, very quickly. So if you do want one of those, you need to get in.
Yeah, awesome.
And one of the things that we should have mentioned, of course, is that, and Taryn alluded to at the beginning, is that not only is there a lot about the entrepreneurs, and we've mentioned some of them that you should look at if you want a happy, fulfilling life, and they're still running their businesses because they're still enjoying it. But it's also we hope we're not going to be sued, but we have actually identified a lot of people that a lot of people do follow, but they shouldn't do, because only 0.1% of the people that are following them actually make any money out of their courses, schemes, or whatever it happens to be. They're the only ones that get rich. And there is a contribution in there by somebody who does it a lot better than me, Mike Winnett, the Contrepreneur, who was very kind to be interviewed by Taryn and various things. So I think it is a good, it's a good book to safeguard yourself, because you're very vulnerable when you start up a business, and there's lots of people promising you, if you work really hard, if you take control of your own life, if you follow this scheme, if you take these courses, if you read these books, if you do all these things, then you can be just like him with the Lamborghini and the fantastic lifestyle that he has. Of course, Brad Burton is great at actually taking the Mickey out of those kind of people as well. But I think it is really important that people aren't suckered in, because there are a lot of people, unfortunately, that get into huge amounts of debt by trying to fake it until they make it and live the lifestyle before they've actually got the income, because they have to recruit others into the scheme, or they have to move product that is far too expensive. They've taken a course that is actually just one level of course before you're asked to upgrade to the next course, until you eventually end up in a mastermind group with the guru. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's really important that that other side of the book, which may not seem positive and happy clappy in various things, but it is really, it's actually saying, you know, avoid the snakes as well. In fact, avoid the snakes and climb the ladders.
Well, I definitely think this is a ladder. This is definitely a ladder for people. And yeah, I know what you mean, because there's a lot of things that look, yeah, they're selling a dream, or they're selling a
Yeah, if it looks too good to be true, it is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things out there looking too good to be true.
If they say they can tell you the secret to success, and it doesn't include the words roll up your sleeves and put the hours in, then don't pay for the course.
Yeah, yeah. No, there does seem to be an increase in people doing that sort of thing, where it is like a pyramid scheme, isn't it? They're just saying, oh yeah, like buy into this, and they're the ones that are getting richer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not really a fan of any of that sort of stuff, where you become dependent on those people as well, where they're providing you with so much content that if you're not careful, all you're doing is just consuming information and content from them. You're not actually doing anything for yourself.
Yeah.
And you become
and it's amazingly subtle as well. You know, people don't realize that it's a proven formula that started off with a guy called William Wattles, and then Napoleon Hill, and then all these people right through to, you know, people we mention in the book. And it's a proven formula, and the whole point, and the reason people don't complain, even though they've spent £5,000 on a course, or you've got a 7 at the end of it, hasn't it? As Mike when it said, they paid £997 for a course that was discounted from £5,000, and it hasn't worked for them, and they don't complain. And the reason they don't complain is that by the time you're in that group, that positive group, you're told that it's your responsibility. So if you haven't got the right stuff out of the course or the products or the whatever, it's your fault. And that's why they don't complain, because a minority, 0.1%, have succeeded, yeah, and you feel it's your fault. You feel inferior, you know, and it's bad news.
What's not common knowledge is that the Lamborghini and the mansion are all hired or rented. They're not owned anyway. So, you know, it's all a complete sham, that this lifestyle that they're alluding to isn't real anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, that everything that you do, it's honest, it's integrity, it's authenticity. That's what's always appealed to me about you, Tony, and
thank you.
And it's inspired me to try and do something similar or try and follow in your footsteps. So there's lots of times when I think, what would Tony do, or what would Tony say here? Or I'll hear his like words or his expressions sort of guiding me to make the right decision. But definitely with Startup Week and the other stuff I'm doing, that's what I wanted to give: honest, authentic advice, practical, authentic, honest advice, not just from me, but from other speakers. So all the speakers are very carefully chosen because they're not.
I really enjoyed those startup weeks. I think it's sad that you've made the decision that you've made, but I totally understand why you've made it. And it's a bit like Small is Beautiful conference. That didn't keep going on and on, but yours was really up there. It was invigorating. Of course, again, I love the quirkiness of all the venues we had for the evenings as well. Wasn't that fantastic? So we all really had a party every single evening, didn't we?
Well, I will do something, but it won't necessarily be Newcastle Startup Week, and it won't necessarily be the same format. But I told you about this new business, Tribes.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be the Tribes Festival. Or
oh, right, okay.
We're going to do something, but it won't necessarily be the same. But yeah, really, really proud of what we've achieved with the Newcastle Startup Week events.
Well, I'll get my Zimmer fame going, and I'll get my daughter to wheel me there. I've just done my 4th half marathon, this Sunday.
You're fitter than me.
4th half marathon, that was really good. It was good. And halfway round, and this is a fantastic thing, don't let go of family and friends. Halfway round, and it's usually about halfway around it, you start to struggle, about 7 or 8 miles in. Mm-hmm. My daughter appeared on a bike and she did a water station. So she handed the water out. And that just kept me going through the whole thing. So
that's good. I'm not a runner, but maybe one day I'll be a runner. But yeah, never say never.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm definitely saying never. Never ever.
So just before we end, I was going to say, the whole microbiz matters and a small business. Do you think, obviously, COVID's been really devastating for everyone? Everybody's been affected, but
yes.
Do you think it could actually turn out good for local independents? Because it seems to be more people who are keen to support local than they maybe were before, or maybe that's just people I'm talking to. But
I think it's across the board. Yeah, I'm certainly seeing everyone that I'm speaking to say they'd much rather work with independents. A lot of the farm shops have really taken off and things like that. So yeah, I think in some ways it could be very good, and I think it's given people time to evaluate what they want to do and review their options. So I think it could turn out to be quite good.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that independent businesses will always be is faster, more flexible, more creative, and more innovative. And we've seen that in abundance. I mean, Taryn and I have just been amazed by what the 3 million excluded UK have actually done. That virtual choir that they put together, and things like that. I mean, they've raised funds in the last few months that they've put into mental health care of those people, because we have had suicides amongst the business owners that, have been hit by this. And I think it will do 2 things. I think it will get a lot of people reducing their costs, a bit like, Ellis and other people have said, that's life, unfortunately. It's going to hit you with something. Look at those poor people that had the flooding in, and then the double whammy of COVID and various things, So things are going to hit you like that, and it's how we react and various things. And I think we can react faster. And I do think that what it's actually done, it's actually brought some communities much, much closer together. I think they're a lot closer together as a result of this. And I think more people will look after each other's backs, really, which is also a good thing. So I think, I think they'll look to buy from other independents. They won't forget the fact that, a lot of companies large companies have actually treated their employees fairly miserably during this whole thing, and that's what they do, unfortunately, and I think it's a shame that, for example, the not the apprenticeship scheme, the Kickstart scheme that they've just announced to get young people, that again, the government have said, well, you've got to have 30 placements to do it directly. It's completely the wrong philosophy. The philosophy should be say, we're going to cut out the bureaucracy of these kind of things. Just take on a young person in your business, if you like, and we'll pay something towards it. Yeah. Take a risk, if you like, take a risk on us. So what we'll do is we'll find ways around all these government schemes, and I think we'll work together to do it. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. People will reduce the costs, and I think they'll look at ways of working collaboratively because they realise that they're stronger. But we'll always be better at dealing with a crisis than the large companies, always. And I was talking to my daughter this morning about another little business idea I've got that I need to find a partner for. I think that's, being enterprising is quite good fun, really. However bad things are out there.
Social media's been brilliant as well. I mean, it gets a horrendously bad rep, and quite rightly so in a lot of times. What we found is that people have gone on, have created groups, certainly local groups, and they've said, I'm looking for this, or I need help with that. And there's been so many business owners or people that want to get into business have gone, I can help you with that. And it's been fantastic. That sense of community and that sense of help, or right now I can't do what I normally do, so let me see if I can help you with that. I think that's been a real testament to the kind of entrepreneur mindset that we've got.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's one of the most creative things you can do or be as self-employed business owner. You have to be very creative to keep going, to survive and thrive, as you often talk about, and come up with new ideas and be very adaptable and resilient. And yeah, talking about social media, obviously there is a negative side to it, but I think if you can avoid that and not get sucked too much into the negativity, there's loads of positive stuff and lots of support out there anybody, they just need to follow you, Tony, and see all the good stuff you're doing and some of the stuff that I'm doing and other people in your book as well. But yeah, when people coming together now is a really good time. I hope people do take a step back and think, okay, when we come out of this, how do we do business differently?
Yeah.
How do we support local micro business independence more, and don't just go back to the old ways?
Yeah, I mean, I think the small business membership organisations have got to learn that lesson as well, Paul. Because I think that it's very important that they realise that their members are actually more important than their sponsors, or the government, and they've actually got to be customer-led or member-led, if you like. And the ones that, like Ed Goodman's Freelance Heroes, that are actually communities for, or Emily Whitehead's Micro Business Owners Network, they're the opposite of the business membership bodies in that respect. They're not bureaucracies, they're communities, and I think that the small business membership bodies have got to learn from that. Is that, we want to be part of a community, we want to learn from each other. We don't want to be paying one of your sponsors a load of money, if you know what I mean, in order to we want to do it ourselves. We want to be in business ourselves. We want to control our own destiny ourselves. So yeah, I think a lot of good can come out of this. And I think the other thing that's really important is that more and more business people, more and more startups will actually realize that in actual fact, there's as much security in starting up a business as there is in having a job.
Yeah.
If you're surrounded by the right people, like Charles Cracknell has, and we have in Scarborough with Yorkshire in Business, if you're surrounded by the right people, going on your own in your own business is just as secure as getting a job. So, and you can control your own destiny in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe more so, because like you say, so many redundancies and
Absolutely.
from big companies just cutting costs, and you're just a number.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
I mean, to put two final points on it, there are going to be loads and loads of shit jobs available.
Yeah.
As a result of, no, seriously, as a result of this, and not very nice jobs available. So helping people actually be enterprising, do a bit of freelancing, a bit of part-time work, a bit of this, a bit of that, to make ends meet and live a happy life is great.
Yeah. And happiness, that's what we're all striving for. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much for that. Really enjoyed talking to you as always. So everybody buy a copy of this. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Cheers. Thanks,
Thank you.
Tony. Thanks, Taryn.
All right.